In this video, I will discuss actions that remote teams can take to help with collaboration and coordination. Hello, my name is Neil Potter, and I have been a coach and a consultant to Agile teams since the year 2000. This video series is about going beyond the basics of Agile software development. Please click below to subscribe for future videos. Many project teams work remotely, and this makes communication and collaboration challenging. However, there are steps that can be taken to make communication and collaboration easier and more effective. Let me explain. So when people are working remotely, there's a lot of extra effort required to make collaboration and communication work. In addition to that, a lot of team members are not particularly good about communicating or speaking up, particularly if they're introverted. And so speaking out and saying they don't understand something and leading the way in coordination is typically a challenge to that individual. So let's take step one to define clear and useful goals or targets. So just clarifying a goal or a target can help a team A, coordinate, and B, collaborate. Targets could include sprint goals, requirements, specs and user stories, test cases and plans, and task definitions and milestones. So these are examples of things that the team can work on to clarify, and as they clarify, they are coordinating and collaborating. Now, in many teams, many software teams, you'll never have a situation where there's a perfect spec or a perfect set of user stories in a backlog. So the target A is probably unlikely to occur. However, giving up and having target D is also a bad idea. Having teams kind of flounder over the project and trying to figure out kind of where they stand is not a particularly useful or efficient way to proceed. So what we typically have is target B and target C. And the idea here is that target B, the backlog is fairly well known. There are ambiguities in the backlog and we have to work those over the iterations. And also target C, where maybe one part of the backlog is particularly clear or set of features, and the other ones have to be kind of worked. So I think target B and target C are typical situations of a team, and we can then spend our time in our team to clarify those items. Just giving up, I think, is a very bad idea. Now, in every Agile implementation, even hybrid life cycles, we may have a step specifically for doing this, like the backlog review or product backlog activity. If you're doing a hybrid life cycle, where maybe at the beginning there's more of a focus on definition and getting clarity on the bigger system issues, and then kind of later on more clarity on the iterations. Again, the requirements steps or the backlog steps are where you would do these activities. Step two is to build a communication plan. This is very straightforward and typically takes one half hour to do. Here we have to list the stakeholders. Your stakeholders could be internal and external, like team members, management, customers, support staff, and vendors. And then for each one of those, clarify what they want to hear about, when they need it, and how they would like to receive it, maybe verbally, text, weekly message, etc. So the communication plan can be very straightforward and be a simple matrix of the stakeholders, the column headings, and the events of the Agile team. So here are the events we typically go through, like a daily stand-up, weekly report, iteration report, etc. And then we can clarify in the cells of the table kind of who needs to kind of know what information. So maybe the daily stand-up is typically for the team, and they look at the burn-down chart, issues, and progress, but they then summarize that maybe at a month level for senior management. So it is a way to clarify, kind of design in from the beginning, kind of the communication and coordination activities of the team. Step three is to distribute goals and confirm understanding. So when we have a backlog put together of a team, maybe we put a line in the sand where the backlog ends, and we say things above the line we're going to commit to, and things below the line are in the backlog to be worked on later on. And then we have the team members kind of grab an item. So grabbing is the idea where a team member says, I'm going to work on that thing, that particular user story or task in the backlog. Because when they grab it, they are committing to that publicly with the team, and they have motivation there to kind of see it through to the end and do a good job on that. But the second part of that is to confirm understanding. If team members grab an item off the backlog to kind of work on, before they get into a big mess or have to guess, it is kind of worth having them confirm understanding by explaining back to the team what they're going to grab. So confirm understanding and grabbing are ways to kind of clarify what did you have, what did you take off the backlog, and what is it going to mean to you. And by clarifying back to the team what it means to them or to the product owner, they're basically doing a collaboration event or communication event within the team. It also gives them a chance to maybe be a little less introverted and then kind of speak out or speak up and clarify their questions. The test cases are also a way to clarify this too, because if you have to write a test case against a backlog item, then you're basically determining what the backlog item actually means. So both the grabbing, the confirm understanding, and the test case writing are very good ways to kind of collaborate as a team. This particularly works well with introverted people, remote organizations or remote team members, and other types of cultures where they may be less willing to speak up and clarify stuff, but now they really have a forum in the team setting to do that. Step 4 is to build a master schedule. If you have a fairly complicated team, many parts to be built, many team members, many locations, it's kind of worthy having a good schedule to kind of show you kind of who's working on what kind of when, and where these key dependencies actually could be in the team. Again, you can choose your level. You could choose, for example, a spreadsheet where these columns are the months or the iterations of the team, and then you're going to list out the sprint goals as the big blue boxes, and you can clarify kind of who's working on what when, and if there are any dependencies among those. A is a way to coordinate a team, and secondly, a way to collaborate, because if a team member has a better idea on the order of something, they can suggest that, and they're collaborating with the team on the basic scheduling of the project. Number 5 is to assess and mitigate risk. Things can go wrong, things probably will go wrong. And so part of the team's job is to get ahead of the game, or kind of lead the way and avoid major problems occurring. So the first thing we do here is have the team kind of brainstorm out a risk list. These are potential problems, things that could go wrong, but they're not guaranteed. And they can cover the gamut from technical issues, tool issues, like the compiler or Jira kind of going down, communication issues, custom issues, management issues, etc. So the first item here is to kind of brainstorm out what could go wrong. The second item is to then prioritize that. We have a simple scale here of 1 through 10. 10 would be very likely and very impactful if this problem were to actually occur. And then a 1 or a 2, or the lower number here, would be very unlikely to occur or very low impact to the team. So giving a simple way to kind of prioritize what to go focus on, maybe kind of what to watch and look at kind of later on. And then there's 2 levels of action here. First column here is the action to mitigate the likelihood, to make it less likely to occur. So you want to take actions that are smaller, cheaper, and earlier, more proactive, to make the likelihood of that risk going to go down, so it's less likely to occur. And if it actually does occur and you can't avoid the risk and it becomes a problem, they're going to backup plan. So I like to keep these 2 columns separate, because the first column are cheaper, earlier win actions, more proactive, and the second column are typically backup plans that are more expensive and done later on as a way to react to the problem if it occurs. So by doing this, we can then basically free up the team's time to kind of head off major issues. And if there are major issues that actually occur, they have more bandwidth left to kind of address those major issues. So number 6 is to track project progress weekly or bi-weekly. So the essence of Agile is to inspect and adapt. The idea firstly is to get feedback on the product, actually do the demo and see what they think of our particular work compared to the user story or the backlog. If we made any mistakes or the style we chose on the products or the features, we get feedback very quickly on that. Combined with that discussion, we can discuss the schedule. Maybe there are items we did finish and they're like, items we did not finish. Maybe they're going to reprioritize. So combined with the demo, we can then discuss the burn down chart and the progress together. This is a good coordination, collaboration, and communication event, obviously, for the whole team to be involved in that. And then secondly, the lessons learned or retrospectives, the team becomes more committed to Agile and the team if they can then improve the way they perform. So an essential part of the Agile process, and one that's typically not done that well, is they're going to get feedback on how are we doing as a team and improve the performance of that. So I think these two items here, product and schedule or burn down chart and the retrospectives, are essential ways to get the team to kind of lay out the issues and progress and then discuss them. And then by doing that, they are in essence collaborating, coordinating and communicating. So in number 7, I think it's essential to take good action on these lessons learned. And this is typically an area Agile teams don't do that well at. They may collect the data over a period of time, but they tend to kind of take little action on it, and bit by bit becomes just kind of a wallpaper or kind of blends into the background and no further action is taken. And so if you have issues, they become chronic issues and people kind of get used to them. So I think it's essential to be agile, and secondly, to actually get the corrective action taken on these items. Let's look at kind of why people don't do that. A few reasons. One is no time allocated. So no time allocated in a project that is overcommitted, they have more work than they can do. They may be rushing to the very end of their iteration to do the demo, and then they're kind of stuck with rework and there's no time to discuss lessons learned. So you do want to allocate some time for retrospectives. That pays itself back very quickly. If you can spend a half a day every 2 weeks or every month on lessons learned, you get that half day back every 2 weeks after that point, because of the problems kind of go away or go down. Also, to recognize that these kind of issues pay back on a regular basis. So, fixing one issue now, maybe bad software, bad tools kind of set up, bad workflow, that gives you benefits over and over again. So you end up not adding more time to the projects to do this. You're basically getting time back every time you take an improvement action on the team. Teams become numb. So if you ignore the agile retrospectives for long enough, they become numb to the team. You're going to get used to that kind of world, and therefore people have less motivation to take corrective action. So you want to revisit the lessons learned, maybe kind of prioritize a few to kind of work on over time, and they're going to make gradual and gentle progress on those items. You might want to tell management how it impacts them. Maybe you are having a lack of traction on the improvements because you don't believe management understands. You want to explain why to work on these things so they can support your cause or your case for allocating time for improvement. A lot of teams are unsure or scared of their solution or their improvement. They tend to want to kind of stay within their comfort zone. If they try something and it goes bad, they may look stupid, or they may think they're going to look stupid, and therefore they don't suggest anything or even try anything. I think this is a major error to kind of fall into. I think the whole point of Agile is to be agile, and that is to kind of try things. So what I particularly like about Agile is that if you try something and it doesn't work out, you can try it again. You every 2 weeks kind of maybe revert back to the previous situation and then try another approach. So I think it's very important for agile teams to be agile and try many things over the time and then learn from those activities, both positive and negative. That is the essence of being agile. For example, estimation. A lot of teams become poor at estimation, and they even tend to kind of not do estimation. They kind of leave those fields of their tool blank with no story points, no effort estimates added to it, because they're scared to put a number in there. If they put a number in there and they add up the numbers, that may exceed their deadline, and therefore they avoid improving estimation because it is scary bad news if they have estimates. So you want to clarify with the team members, who's able to then speak to the management about that. A, in their terms to understand kind of what they care about, but B, maybe if you can't speak up about it, which is okay, maybe another team member or somebody in your organization can speak up about it. Maybe there's an advocate you have in the group somewhere that can take your issue and then explain that in a useful fashion to management and kind of get their backing on it. If you are unable to sell your improvements to management, then kind of reset. you may be discussing the improvements from your perspective or the team's perspective, whereas maybe speaking about the management's perspective would be a better approach. If they care about money being spent, or deadline, or progress, or billable hours, or whatever they care about, take your idea and then reframe it in the context of what they care about. So if you are worried about estimation and how badly estimation is going, then think about the not your world, about your deadlines and kind of how your team is suffering, but think for a second about the management's view. They have to make money, sell, meet deadlines, etc., and they want to have a dependable deadline. So maybe you speak to them about what they really care about and then kind of frame your improvements in the context of their kind of world. In summary, great collaboration and coordination between remote team members is possible with these improvements, and it is important, like any aspect of life, to practice and refine these steps. Thanks for watching the video. For more help on these topics or your Agile implementation, please see the links below.